Top 9 Secrets to Thriving Hydrangeas in Pots. Easy planting, care and winter survival. Hello friends, and welcome back to Earthly Delights, a place where soil meets soul, and where every gardener, whether on a balcony in a small backyard or with just a few pots by the window, can find inspiration. If you're here today, it's because you love plants that feel both elegant and generous, and hydrangeas are exactly that. Big, billowing blooms that seem to whisper, you can create beauty, no matter the space. I know many of you watching are people who don't have endless acres of land. You may live in an apartment, tending to pots on your balcony. Maybe you're a busy parent who wants a splash of color near the patio without the overwhelm of a full garden. Or perhaps you're a passionate plant lover who simply can't resist trying something new in a container. You're practical but curious, sometimes struggling with space, sunlight, or even the challenge of winter. And yet, you keep searching for better ways to make your green corner thrive. In this video, I'm going to share with you the top 9 secrets to thriving hydrangeas in pots. Secrets I've learned from years of trial, error, and joyful discovery. By the end, you'll not only know how to plant and care for hydrangeas in containers, but also how to keep them alive and beautiful season after season. So if you haven't already, take a moment to subscribe to Earthly Delights and join this growing community of gardeners who believe beauty belongs everywhere. Secret 1: choosing the perfect pot, giving your hydrangea a true home. When it comes to growing hydrangeas in pots, the very first secret is to think of the container as more than just a vessel. It is the plant's permanent home. Just like people need the right space to stretch and breathe, hydrangeas need a pot that allows their roots to explore and expand without being cramped. Too often I see gardeners, especially beginners, place these magnificent plants into small decorative pots simply because they look pretty at first glance. But the truth is, a pot that's too small is like a pair of shoes 2 sizes down, uncomfortable, limiting, and eventually damaging. Hydrangeas thrive best in containers that are at least 18 to 20 inches in diameter, giving their roots the chance to settle deeply, anchoring the plant for long-term health and full, vibrant blooms. Beyond size, think carefully about the style and material. If you live in an apartment and need to move pots around, lightweight resin containers are a lifesaver, making it easier to adjust your garden as the seasons shift. If you're after timeless charm, terracotta or ceramic pots bring an earthy beauty that pairs wonderfully with the lush, rounded shape of hydrangea blooms. For those creating a rustic outdoor corner, wooden planters can add a warm, natural touch. The choice isn't only about function, but also about expression. Your hydrangea pot can reflect your personality just as much as the flowers themselves. And then there's drainage, the quiet hero of container gardening. A pot without drainage holes is a recipe for root rot, no matter how careful you are with watering. Imagine your hydrangea standing with its feet in cold water day after day. It's a slow suffocation. So choose a container with proper drainage, or take the time to drill your own. You can even elevate the pot with small risers called pot feet to keep water from pooling underneath. It's a small detail, but it makes all the difference. This first secret may seem simple, but it sets the stage for everything that follows. With the right pot, you're not just planting a hydrangea, you're giving it a home where it can truly belong, where its roots can stretch, and where its blooms can eventually dazzle. Now that we've created this foundation, let's move on to the second secret, the soil recipe that will keep your hydrangea nourished and strong. Secret 2: drainage, the hidden lifesaver for your hydrangea. Now that you've chosen the right pot, let's move to something that often hides in plain sight yet decides the fate of your plant: drainage. Many gardeners, especially those who are new to container planting, overlook this detail. They fall in love with a beautiful pot, only to discover too late that it doesn't allow water to escape. Hydrangeas, with all their lush foliage and generous blooms, are thirsty plants, but they despise sitting in soggy soil. Imagine standing with your feet in a puddle for hours. It may seem harmless at first, but over time it weakens you. The same happens to your hydrangea's roots when water has nowhere to go. A pot with at least 1 or 2 drainage holes is non-negotiable. If your dream container doesn't have them, don't be afraid to make your own. A simple drill bit can turn a decorative piece into a plant-friendly home. Once those holes are there, you've created a lifeline for your hydrangea. But drainage isn't just about holes, it's about balance. At the bottom of the pot, you can add a thin layer of gravel, broken pottery, or even coarse sand to keep soil from compacting and to guide excess water away from the roots. This small step is like laying the foundation for a house, unseen, yet vital for stability and comfort. There's also a little trick seasoned gardeners use, something called pot feet or risers. These small supports lift your container just a few centimeters off the ground, preventing water from pooling beneath it. It might sound minor, but on a rainy week or when you've watered a little too generously, those extra inches make a big difference. They allow air to circulate under the pot and keep your plant's shoes dry and breathable. By giving attention to drainage, you're not just preventing problems. You're creating conditions where your hydrangea can flourish without stress. It's one of those invisible secrets, the kind that doesn't show on day one but reveals its importance months later when your plant is still standing strong, leaves glossy, and blooms full. And once your drainage is set, you're ready for the next secret, crafting the perfect soil mix, a recipe that will keep your hydrangea nourished and thriving for seasons to come. Secret 3, the soil recipe that feeds both roots and blooms. With the pot and drainage ready, the next secret lies in what you fill it with, the soil. Think of soil as the kitchen and pantry for your hydrangea, a place where it finds both comfort and nourishment. Too often, I see eager gardeners scoop up a shovel of dirt straight from the yard and pat it into the pot. While it might seem convenient, garden soil is far too dense for containers. It compacts quickly, suffocating the roots and holding water in all the wrong ways. Hydrangeas crave a light, airy medium that allows them to drink deeply while still breathing freely. The recipe is simple, but it makes all the difference. Start with a high-quality potting mix, one designed specifically for container plants. This gives you the right structure, light yet supportive. To that, add compost, a generous ingredient that works like a slow, steady meal for your hydrangea. Compost not only feeds but also improves texture, keeping the soil loose and full of life. And then comes the secret touch, perlite or coarse sand. These little white specks are more than decoration. They create tiny pockets of air and pathways for water to flow, ensuring your roots never feel trapped. Once the mix is ready, tuck your hydrangea into it, making sure the plant sits at the same depth as it did in its nursery pot. Resist the urge to bury it too deep. Hydrangeas like their crowns just at soil level, not hidden away. After planting, leave a couple of inches of space at the top of the pot. This small gap is your watering well, the place where each drink can soak down slowly without overflowing. And here's a finishing flourish. Mulch the surface with shredded bark, moss, or even decorative stones. It doesn't just look beautiful, it keeps moisture steady, protects roots from heat, and makes the pot feel complete, like the final brushstroke on a painting. Good soil is more than just dirt. It's the stage where the whole story of your hydrangea will unfold. With this recipe, you've created the perfect environment for growth, resilience, and endless blooms. Now that the foundation is alive with promise, let's move on to the next secret, planting your hydrangea with care so it feels right at home from day one. Secret 4. Planting with care, helping your hydrangea settle them. And now that the soil is prepared, it's time for one of the most delicate moments in your hydrangea's journey, planting it into its new home. This step may seem straightforward, but how you handle it makes all the difference between a plant that merely survives and one that truly thrives. Picture it as moving into a new house. You don't just toss your belongings into a room, you arrange them with care, making sure everything feels comfortable. Your hydrangea deserves the same thoughtful touch. When you lift the plant from its nursery pot, take a moment to look at the root ball. If you see the roots circling tightly, gently tease them apart with your fingers. This small act encourages the roots to spread outward into their new space instead of continuing to spiral around themselves. Place the hydrangea into the prepared soil so that it sits at the exact same depth it grew before. Neither buried too deep nor perched too high. This keeps the crown safe from rot while allowing the roots to anchor firmly. As you add soil around the plant, always Press it down lightly, firm enough to eliminate air pockets, but never so hard that you compact the soil. Think of it as tucking a child into bed, secure, snug, but still soft. Leave that precious inch or two at the top of the pot as a reservoir for water. This simple detail makes your future watering easier and prevents messy overflows. Of course, no planting session is complete without a little bit of chaos, soil on your hands, a few spills on the patio, maybe even compost on your shoes. But that's part of the joy of gardening. Don't see the mess as a mistake. See it as proof that you are creating life, that you are connecting with the soil in the most authentic way. Once the hydrangea is nestled in, give it a generous first drink to help the roots settle. And you'll feel that sense of satisfaction every gardener knows, the moment when a new chapter begins. With planting complete, your hydrangea is now truly at home. And that leads us naturally to the next secret, choosing the right light and location. Because even the happiest roots need the right sun and shade to flourish. Secret 5, light and location. Giving your hydrangea the perfect spot. Once your hydrangea has been planted with care, the next secret to its success lies not in the soil but in the sky above. Light can be both friend and foe, and where you place your pot will determine whether your hydrangea thrives or struggles. These plants are lovers of balance. They adore the soft touch of morning sun, but shy away from the harsh glare of the afternoon. Too much heat and their delicate leaves crisp at the edges, while too little light and their blooms fade into disappointment. For those of you gardening on balconies or rooftops, I know how tricky this balance can be. The sun reflects off concrete, intensifies against brick walls, and often leaves plants baking in more heat than they were ever meant to endure. I've learned through trial and error that sometimes the shadiest corner can be a hydrangea's paradise. If your deck or yard gets hours of strong afternoon sun, don't hesitate to provide a little help. An outdoor umbrella, a tall trellis with climbing plants, or even the shadow of a nearby tree can create that dappled light your hydrangea craves. And here's the beauty of container gardening: flexibility. Unlike shrubs rooted in the ground, your hydrangea in a pot can be moved as the seasons shift. Maybe it soaks in gentle light on the east side of your home in spring, then slides into a shadier nook during the heat of summer. If you're in an apartment, even repositioning your pot a few feet can change everything. Pay attention to how your plant responds, the way the leaves stretch toward the light or curl away from too much of it. Your hydrangea will tell you when it's happy. Choosing the right spot isn't just about sunlight. It's about giving your plant a sense of comfort, a microclimate where it can relax and flourish. Once you find that sweet spot, you'll notice your hydrangea carrying itself with more confidence. Its leaves greener, its blooms fuller. And with light and location settled, we move to the next vital secret: watering, the rhythm of life that will keep your hydrangea singing through every season. Secret 6, watering wisdom, finding the rhythm your hydrangea loves. Now that your hydrangea has the right home in the perfect spot, the next secret is learning the art of watering. It may sound simple, just add water, but every experienced gardener knows it's more like a dance. Too little and your hydrangea wilts, its leaves drooping like tired arms. Too much and the roots drown, suffocated in soggy soil. The key is rhythm, and every plant sings to a slightly different beat. Hydrangeas are thirsty by nature, and in containers, their need becomes even greater. As a starting point, aim to water deeply twice a week, allowing moisture to penetrate the root zone. But seasons change, and so must your habits. In the heat of midsummer, when the air shimmers and pots dry faster than you expect, daily watering might be necessary. The trick is not to guess, but to listen. Place your finger 2 inches into the soil. If it feels dry, it's time for a drink. If it's still damp, wait another day. This simple test is more reliable than any schedule. You'll also notice your hydrangea gives signals of its own. When leaves begin to droop or blooms look tired, it's the plant's gentle way of saying, "I'm thirsty." A deep watering will often revive it within hours. To make life easier, especially for those of you with busy schedules or larger collections, consider setting up a drip irrigation system or using self-watering pots. These tools keep hydration steady and reduce the stress of forgetting a watering day. Watering is more than maintenance, it's an intimate moment between you and your plant. With every pour, you're not just quenching its thirst, you're building trust, teaching it that in this container, it is safe, cared for, and never forgotten. And once you've mastered this rhythm, your hydrangea will reward you with resilience and vigor. From here, we move to the next secret, one that adds fuel to this cycle of growth, feeding your hydrangea so it has the strength to bloom at its fullest. Secret 7. Feeding for long-lasting blooms. Nourishment at the right time. With watering under control, the next secret is giving your hydrangea the energy it needs to keep producing those breathtaking blooms. Feeding, when done right, is like setting a stage for the show of the season. But when done poorly, it can lead to confusion, weak growth, or flowers that fail to appear. Hydrangeas in containers depend on you for every bit of nutrition because, unlike those planted in the ground, they cannot reach deeper layers of soil for reserves. The golden rule is timing. Hydrangeas prefer their meals early, late winter or early spring, just as they're waking from their winter rest. This is when a balanced, slow-release fertilizer works its magic, fueling the roots for steady growth and preparing the plant for months of blooms ahead. But resist the urge to overfeed, especially in late summer or fall. At that time of year, the plant should be preparing to rest, not producing soft new shoots that will only be damaged by winter's chill. There's also an art to choosing the right fertilizer. For big leaf hydrangeas, certain blends can even influence bloom color, making them blush pink in alkaline soil or turn a dreamy blue in acidic soil. Panicle and smooth hydrangeas, on the other hand, care less about color change, but still need that balanced nutrition to stay strong. Think of fertilizing as hosting a feast, tailored to your guest. Each type has its preferences, and when you match the right food to the right plant, the results are unforgettable. What makes this secret so satisfying is the ritual itself. Feeding your hydrangea can become a seasonal tradition, a reminder of the cycles of growth and rest. With every pinch of fertilizer, you're not just nourishing a plant, you're investing in joy, preparing for the day when its blooms spill over the pot, vibrant and abundant. And with your hydrangea well-fed, we can now turn to the next secret, one that often makes or breaks container gardening in colder regions. Learning how to guide your plants safely through the winter months. Secret 8. Overwintering without stress, helping your hydrangea rest and return. As summer fades and the days grow shorter, your hydrangea begins to prepare for its long winter rest. For container gardeners, this is the season that often brings the most anxiety. Unlike plants rooted deep in the earth, a hydrangea in a pot is far more exposed. Its roots don't have the natural insulation of the ground, and one harsh freeze can undo all the care you've given. But here's the good news. Overwintering doesn't have to be stressful if you know the right steps. The first option, and one I've used many times with success, is to move your container into a sheltered spot like a garage, shed, or even a cool basement. The goal isn't warmth, it's protection. In these spaces, your hydrangea will stay dormant without being battered by icy winds or frozen solid. Remember to water lightly, just enough to keep the roots from drying out completely. Think of it as tucking in your plant with a glass of water on the nightstand, ready for when it stirs. But what if you can't move heavy pots? For those gardening on balconies or rooftops, hauling containers up and down stairs may not be practical. In that case, create a micro greenhouse. Simple plastic coverings, insulated wraps, or even clustering several pots together against a wall can create a pocket of warmth that shields the roots. Some gardeners use straw, burlap, or special frost covers as a cozy blanket. Each layer adds a bit more comfort, reducing the bite of winter's chill. What matters most is consistency. Your hydrangea doesn't mind the cold, it minds the shock. Protect it from sudden swings, from being dry one week and frozen the next. With steady care, your plant will wake in spring refreshed, ready to bloom once again. And that brings us naturally to the final secret, where we learn from mistakes, avoid common pitfalls, and set ourselves up for seasons of success. Secret 9, avoiding common mistakes, learning the gentle way. Every gardener, no matter how experienced, makes mistakes. It's part of the journey, and often it's how we learn the most. With hydrangeas in pots, though, there are a few pitfalls that appear again and again, and avoiding them can save you both heartache and lost blooms. One of the most common errors is starting with a pot that's simply too small. In the beginning, a tiny container may look charming, but very quickly the roots outgrow the space. The soil dries out in a single afternoon and the plant struggles. Choosing the right size from the start is not a luxury. It's an act of kindness to your hydrangea. Another frequent mistake is over-fertilizing, especially late in the season. It's easy to think more food equals more flowers, but in truth, too much fertilizer encourages leafy growth at the wrong time, leaving your plant unprepared for winter. The result is tender shoots that wither in the first frost. Timing matters, and restraint is just as important as generosity. Then there's the issue of drainage. Even if you've drilled holes in your pot, placing it directly on a solid surface can trap water underneath. Without pot feet or risers, roots may sit in a silent puddle, slowly rotting away while everything above still looks green. It's a hidden danger that many overlook. Finally, don't underestimate the stress of moving your hydrangea too often. While containers give you the freedom to rearrange your garden, shifting pots from one extreme to another can shock the plant. Hydrangeas, like people, thrive on stability. Find the right spot, listen to how your plant responds, and then give it the consistency it needs. Remember, mistakes are not failures. They are gentle reminders, guiding you toward better choices. Every wilted leaf or missed bloom teaches you something valuable. By avoiding these common traps, you give your hydrangea not just a chance to survive, but the best opportunity to flourish. And with this final secret revealed, it's time to bring everything together and reflect on the joy of growing hydrangeas in pots, where beauty and resilience live side by side. Your journey with hydrangeas in pots. And so, we've come full circle. 9 secrets to help your hydrangeas not only survive, but truly thrive in pots. From choosing the right container, preparing the perfect soil, and planting with care to mastering light, watering, feeding, and overwintering, you now hold the knowledge to create a haven where these beautiful blooms can flourish season after season. Growing hydrangeas in containers isn't just about technique, it's about patience, observation, and the quiet joy of seeing life respond to your touch. For many of you, space is limited. Maybe you're gardening on a balcony in the city, or perhaps you're arranging pots around a small patio. But with these secrets, you've discovered that beauty isn't limited by square footage. It's defined by attention and love. Each bloom your hydrangea produces is a reflection of your care, a reward for every moment spent watering, shading, or sheltering through the winter chill. So, as you look at your own hydrangeas or prepare to start this journey for the first time, remember that success doesn't come from perfection. It comes from connection. Your plant doesn't need you to be flawless. It needs you to be present. And when you are, it will reward you in ways that never fail to lift the spirit. Before you go, I'd love to hear from you. Where are you planning to grow your hydrangeas? On a sunny balcony, a shaded patio, or maybe right by your front door? Share your thoughts in the comments below because your ideas inspire not only me, but also this entire community of gardeners. And if you enjoyed today's journey, don't forget to subscribe to Earthly Delights. Together, we'll keep exploring the wisdom of plants, uncovering new secrets, and celebrating the beauty that grows when soil meets soul.